I was originally going to cover cozy fantasy in my video on Ghibli Slop, but I realized I had a lot more to say about the topic than I planned. It's hard to talk about it online, with many people either uninterested completely or against the tropes, world building, and general boring vibes around this whole thing. Cozy fantasy is a very new subgenre which is now being applied in two different ways. The first way is in present tense, given as a new marketing term to books written with similar settings and themes to the 2022 novel Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book sets the template for modern cozy fantasy, with an orc warrior who leaves her adventuring life to start a coffee shop. Many stories have been published in the wake of Legends and Latte's huge success about an elf running a potion store, a martial artist running a farm, a witch running a plant store. Wait, that one's not out yet. The bulk of discussion about cozy fantasy focuses on this new crop of stories that are grouped by their similarity to each other, which leads to the common criticism that they're formulaic. And yeah, they are. It's a trend like so many before them because publishers saw the success of Baldree's novel and wanted it for themselves. Most YA dystopia in the 2010s was jumping on Hunger Games' thing, or Divergence because it's easier to steal from. It's not even the biggest trend in fantasy right now, romantasy is right there. I get the irritation at seeing everyone talk about books that you're not into, but I think chucking the whole subgenre in the trash is way too extreme. The way people have been trying to enjoy it is by going into the back catalog of fantasy and retroactively applying this label. This second application is why I'm interested in cozy fantasy, because it's technically been there since the beginning. Even the Wikipedia page for cozy fantasy calls J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit as a cozy fantasy book, and yeah, it basically is. Cozy fantasy is defined by its lower stakes storytelling, focusing more on characters and less on the world-ending stakes that The Hobbit's older, hotter brother would popularize. The novels for Kiki's Delivery Service and Howl's Moving Castle are now also called cozy fantasy, and Studio Ghibli is basically the mascot for it. The return to this quieter, kinder style of fantasy, I think, could have only happened because of the pandemic. Speaking personally, my high school graduation took place in front of my house. The teachers had driven to hand it to me and take photos so that there was some good memory here. My whole life had been on pause. I should be at community college 20 minutes away, but I was stuck on Zoom for a year. That isolation drove me to learn art so I can make my own escape. That's true of Baldree as well. In an interview with his publisher Tor, he talks about how Legends and Lattes is basically a fantasy of certainty. He was between jobs, missing local cafes, and just wanting to know life was gonna pan out alright. The personal feelings and parallels with Baldree's life are directly correlated to what made the book so successful. No one had a clue when things could even feel close to normal. 2019 had immediately become nostalgic. I'm not saying you can't find a personal feeling in cozy fantasy published in Latte's wake, but the escapism reads more like a cottagecore Pinterest board rather than drawing on clear emotions. Cozy is a social media trend now, whether in books, movies, or games, everyone's all in on cozy. So of course businesses want to profit big on trends, and whatever is being sold has to be clean and palatable. Tor couldn't have known the success of Lattes when they published it. Well, I've actually been holding off on this for a while and misleading you a little, at least those not in the know. Tor didn't publish Legends and Lattes, at least initially. This book was self-published by Baldree on Amazon and went viral based off the cover art being posted to Twitter. He actually documented this time for us in a Medium article published a few weeks after that book's release. I think it's such a valuable resource for creators to see an author's thoughts here, trying to think through their success and staying humble about it. So, this video is the defense of cozy fantasy, and I've taken a lot of the video to not talk about that, but here we go, here's the bridge. This right here is the solution to boring cozy fantasy novels, to move into the indie scene and read self-published works instead of traditionally published ones. Now, I know there's a few issues people may raise here, mainly ones of quality. How will I know if a story is worth my time beforehand, things like that, which are fair questions. Traditionally published work has a standard of quality guaranteed, so you'd need some kind of guide to which stories you should read. And that's my turn to hog the camera, thank you. Zoom in please. So let's break down what we're actually looking here. The guy over there wants this to be a comic channel, so we're gonna be reading comics from the platform Webtoon, mostly because that's what he knows and it's the easiest place to start reading. All stories will be listed below with where to read or purchase them. I'll be starting with shorter series, mostly stuff that started recently. These lists are also not in any specific order. First up, Superfish by Peglo, one of the newest comics on the site. This is a Webtoon original, which means it'll update weekly and you can read ahead if you want to pay for coins. Superfish is a supernatural romance about DJ, a normal high schooler who has a chance encounter with the wizard Superfish. Their lives become entangled as DJ accidentally fuses with the witch's core, requiring Superfish to become his unlikely protector. With only 11 chapters out at time of writing, the story has just started, but I feel that I can recommend it based off the strength of these early chapters and on the creator's previous comic, To the Stars and Back. The characters are very personable and the story moves at a good pace. I think the art is clear and effective. Ghost Cats and Tea is a comic by Simsart, an incredible illustrator that graced us with a very cozy fantasy that's light on plot and heavy on the vibes. There is no bias from me here as a magic cat myself, I swear. Both the series and the chapters themselves are very short, so it's a good read if you only have a few minutes and don't want to stop in the middle of a chapter. Rereading it for this video, I fell in love with Sims' stripped-back style here. It's the essentials of what makes their work so popular, letting color take a back seat to their line work. There are only 22 chapters, but the world continues into Sims illustrations if you're wanting more. Kingdom of Ra by Little Aquarius is one of the comics that inspired this video, because I want way more people to know about it. After the death of the Northern Chief, the Stone Town looks to his ill widow and 2 children. None of them are fit to lead, but they must rise to the occasion. This one is also a bit darker than the other series here, but nothing too gross. Ra feels a lot like Princess Mononoke in its themes of man encroaching on nature, and the world presented here feels dense with myth. The black and white art is stunning. I'm always stopping just to take it all in. Not much has happened yet in just 14 chapters, but I want more people to jump on now. The last of the short comics is Stuck With You from Cascade Comics. It's a comedy action fantasy following 2 adventurers that always seem to make the situation worse. The characters are immediately engaging, with good banter and a strong sense of self. The art always nails whatever tone is called for in a way I don't see many webtoons pull off. The action scenes are especially spectacular in their paneling and composition. Though it can get a little bloody, the series stays firmly in the vibe of video game Quest and not Game of Thrones. There's only 27 chapters at time of writing, but some can be quite long, making the series better to binge in a sitting or two to get the most out of it. We'll be starting the long series with 2 stories from the same creator. First is Blackburn by Momo Gigi, which follows Lillian after a chance meeting with 2 werecats named Heathcliff and Balefire. When their caretaker passes away, more witches come to the town to use its magic for their own wishes. This series started back in 2018. You get to see the creator evolve their style over time into something truly beautiful. This real-time evolution is something that I think only indie comics could showcase. The 16th chapter has just started, and I'm excited to see where it goes. The second comic from Momo Gigi is Sorted, a webtoon original series about a reincarnated wizard who must regain his old artifacts and defeat the Demon Lord. It sounds like a pretty basic setup, but what sets Sorted apart is the tone. It leans much more into comedy and an upbeat vibe, especially with the pastel colors the world is bathed in. It's only 52 chapters long, so it can take you a while, but it has a way of keeping you guessing what's going to happen next. Morgana and Oz from Yuli is one of the big titles on this list. It's been promoted a lot since its release for a good reason. After Morgana's grandfather is kidnapped by rogue vampires, she makes it her mission to bring him back home with the help of Oz, one of the vampires she accidentally turned into a cat. Again, no bias in my picking of the story. Muley is pretty famous both as a comic artist and an illustrator, and her skills can be felt immediately. The characters are sharply written and easily identifiable, making it easy to fall in love with them. The comic saw its last season and has 78 pretty sizable chapters, so now's the best time to jump in and be there for the finale. If you're interested in it but don't want to stare at your phone that long, it's being adapted into physical books. The first 2 volumes are out now and will be linked below. Another big series here, Castle Swimmer, by Wendy Leon Martin. Kappa is told by God at birth that he is the beacon, the being who is the key to all the prophecies of this underwater world. The first one the audience sees him solve is where he must be killed to lift the curse of scars from the shark people. Their Prince Siren, the only one unaffected, must kill Kappa, but the pair forge a bond too strong to break. Castle Swimmer is masterful with its stakes and pacing, using them together to keep the story engaging and surprising, even 200 chapters in. I also love the underwater setting, which instantly sets the series apart. Most fantasy stories about mermaids bring them up to our world, so getting this entire series under the waves feels so refreshing. No pun intended, there is literally not a better word for it. Castle Swimmer got my personal seal of approval. If you choose one of these to read, let it be this one. Castle Swimmer also has a print release if you want to catch up that way. The Blacksmith Shop by North Wolf is the best comic to read if you just want a little pick-me-up throughout your day. It's a comedy series about this little guy running a forge and all the goings and happenings there. Each chapter is a self-contained story lasting only a couple panels. All the characters are endearing, especially in their interactions with the blacksmith. The art's simple but appealing. I'd buy keychains of these little guys. This is the perfect read for short bursts, a couple chapters at a time. Little Hollow Cafe follows Mimi, who's recently moved in the hopes of keeping her grandmother's cafe and legacy alive. I found the vibes of this story leaning towards cozy games like Stardew Valley or Fields of Mystria, where you slowly learn more about these characters before learning about Mimi herself. The focus on the food served at the cafe is a great element here, acting as a cookbook if the audience is feeling like something new. At only 64 episodes, Little Hollow Cafe is a breezy read if you're looking for something to binge. In a time where companies are expecting people to just consume whatever's put in front of them, I think it's important to push outside of one's comfort zone if it means connecting with other people. Art is a form of communication, one that takes time for people to hone exactly what they mean by it. Companies and their profit motives can get in between that communication, but we live in a time where we can just bypass that and go straight to other people if we know how to find them. If you want to see more from me, I have a comic called Beeswax that's currently on my Patreon. For $2 a month, you can read everything that's available.